Lixiao Huang is a postdoctoral student at Duke. Her academic preparation is psychology. So she's been working on different, including her own dissertation study and working on the name of the research group. Can you introduce your research lab?
Okay. Currently, I'm a postdoc at Duke University. The lab I'm working at is a Humans Autonomy Lab. I'm working with Professor Missy Cummins on humans' interaction with autonomous systems. But the reason why I'm here is because child-robot interaction is also my research interest. And I have done some research related to that in my PhD program. So I'm here to kind of complement what Cynthia and Yang He has done and add a few examples and kind of describe the bigger picture of what we are doing.
So she is presenting other robot project, done in the United States and internationally.
My background is in human factors and applied cognition. We study how humans interact with machines by breaking down their tasks and also designing the interfaces. I've done research assistant in education, and currently my postdoc is in mechanical engineering. So kind of like oversee what different disciplinaries do research differently. So for this one, I wanted to point out the difference between the educational robotics and social educational robots. To the left is about how you use robots to learn about robotics. So the Legos and VAX and first robotics tournaments and robotics clubs, these are heavily focused on this area to learn robotics through building the robots. And the focus of today's workshop, however, is different. We focus on the social educational robots, so we don't need to build the robot, but we just use the robots already being built for helping children have to fulfill their needs. So these are a few potential needs areas we have seen in some of the current researches. There's by no means exclusive. There will be, and there might be some different other needs being identified. We already talked about the language usage and also healthcare emotional support when children are hospitalized. The robots can also cheer them up in the hospitals. And in the following short presentation, I will give some examples about the autism and also the personality aspect of using the robots in child-robot interaction. The first video is about autism. Autism has been widely identified as a critical area that children need help with. And there's some positive outcome saying that robots is actually helping children to overcome some of the autism symptoms. And now is also being widely used in this research. I want to show you this video and we'll have a brief discuss about how the design of research works.
I see beautiful colors. I see lights.
It's a different world. It can be so very different for children like 3-year-old Aiden.
Hi, Aiden. Hi.
Aiden and his twin brother Beck have autism spectrum disorder, each affected in a different way. Aiden likes to play, and there's a new playmate, a 2-foot robot.
Hi, Aiden. My name is Now.
And this special robot plays back.
I want you to find some things, okay?
It's in an interactive room. Monitors show pictures and videos, and infrared lights on Aiden's hat signal to cameras around the room when he responds, telling the robot to change its reply.
Aiden, look. Good job.
We demonstrated that if the children were really more interested towards the robot than human therapies, then the robot might be able to use this engagement to some beneficial activity.
The study found that young autistic children spent significantly more time looking at the robot than a typically developing child did.
Aiden, look at it.
and capturing attention is critical for early intervention treatment.
To pull that attention to that humanoid robot, to build up some of these skills such as following the robot's gaze, following the point, then we're able to work with that and transfer it over to humans.
Let's do some more. Aiden, look. Good job.
The robot therapy would not take the place of a therapist, but it creates another treatment tool.
Good job.
It might make intervention more accessible to some individuals during times where they might be waiting for other services.
The point of this video is showing some of the progress they've been able to show that the humanoid robot attracts the child's attention. But as you notice that they are hopefully will be being able to transfer this kind of attention to human-human interaction. But this is kind of a wishful thinking. Their research has not measured how actually afterwards how this child is interacting with a human subject. So for this kind of research, we really need to see whether you are just using the robots or you are introducing human into this interaction, and how you see the difference after interacting with robots, how children interact with real human alone. So there's some of the positive progress already, but we also need to look at the further progress. And this is another example that is being widely used in the current classrooms and industry.
Hi, my name is Milo.
Brand new technology.
It's nice to see you again.
The therapy is done through Milo, essentially.
Sometimes my friends might say hi.
This little boy is coming out of his shell and just loves it.
He's a small human-like droid named Milo, and he has kids like 7-year-old Bailey Arnett enthralled.
He makes therapy lots of fun, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He didn't have a lot of communication skills, and avoided eye contact and found it very difficult to interact with others. He was very much a loner.
Bailey's mum, Emma, says her little boy's always struggled socially, diagnosed with autism at age 3. But 10 weeks of therapy with Milo and Bailey's confidence has soared, especially at school.
He would look at the ground and might kind of go hi, whereas now he is open and will shout from the rooftops their names some days and run through the corridor and, "Hi, Miss Lily."
Milo has a whole lot of motors in his face so that he's able to simulate a lot of different motions and facial expressions.
Carolyn Yench from Rocky Bay says children with autism can find social interactions confusing, but by projecting videos onto iPads and demonstrating human reactions with his own face, Milo's teaching is both non-threatening and interesting for kids.
It's something new, it's something different, it's something that hasn't been seen before.
And the tablet?
Here, Milo's showing Bailey appropriate ways to leave a conversation or move away from someone.
Smile and say bye to them, just like when you said bye to me.
Do you remember the different ways we could see it? He really liked Milo, and it helped him, I guess, to pay attention rather than me talking at him for 45 minutes.
Regular human therapists like Lauren Constantine guide the teaching, but Milo has smart technology built in. He records and assesses kids and increases the complexity as they progress.
Yeah, at the beginning he was definitely a very shy little boy, very short responses, me asking lots of questions and getting quite short answers, and then by the end we would have a two-way conversation where he would make lots of comments.
The first of his kind in WA, Milo was designed in the US. He's been programmed by a Harvard-trained speech pathologist. Milo's speech is slowed to 82%, with research showing that makes him easier to understand. And unlike a human voice, Milo's never changes in volume, tone or inflection.
A lot of kids who are diagnosed or on the autism spectrum, they cope really well when things are predictable.
What sort of things did you learn with him?
Happy, sad and angry.
Yeah?
Bailey's mum says he would never previously engage like this with someone he's just met, let alone on camera.
And what's that one?
Surprise.
Surprise, that's brilliant.
But the one breakthrough that really reinforced for Emma just how far her little boy's come, after 5 years of regularly seeing a family friend, One day, Bailey shook his hand.
And jumped in front of him and stuck his hand out and said, "Hi, how's it going?" And he's never done that ever. And we all just melted and we're all looking at each other going, "Oh my God, I can't believe that just happened." And that was just wow, a wow moment that we knew that Milo was working.
So far, Milo's worked with just 10 Perth kids, but there are plans to buy more humanoids to meet demand.
What we've achieved with Milo is just a small scale, but it's changed our lives. So look forward to seeing lots of other children have access to him.
Thank you for listening. I hope you will help us change the world.
The example of Milo is steps a little further than the previous one. So it involves the human companion also as a guide in the interaction. And they also tested afterwards how this child actually interacts with other humans in the real life. So this is much better. Another good thing about Milo is being existing in the market, so it's much more accessible for lab researchers. And these are just two examples. There are other research using dinosaurs and also the dancing duck, Huang, I think. There's multiple ways of robots they're being used. So the bigger question is how we design the robot that is targeting the specific needs of the children. And the second one is in Peru. This is another video. I want to show you how this is being used.
Hola. Hola. ¿Cómo te llamas? Yo me llamo Jenny. Yo me pregunto, ¿cómo te llamas tú? Mateo. Hola, Mateo. Vamos a saludar a Hermi primero. Hola, Hermi. Hola, Hermi. Mira, Mateo, tenemos algo en la mesa.
Hello, friends. My name is Hermie, and I'm here to help you to be a great superhero like me. Are you ready? To become a superhero, we need to train so much. Oh, we have superpowers. For example, I have little ears that can detect my friend's calls. What is your superpower?
Yo tengo poder de que soy fuerte.
Yo soy muy fuerte también. Vamos a mirarlo los ojos. Yo creo que va a aparecer algo ahí. Vamos a jugar al bebé, ¿ya? Si aparece una.
Yo veo una pila.
Sí.
What figure is this?
Yo veo four.
¿Qué tal si lo hacemos con el dedito? Yo veo el número 4. A ver tú, con tu dedo.
Yo veo el número 4.
¿Cómo salió eso? ¿Más fácil? Sí, ¿viste? Los dos juntos, ¿ya? Yo veo el número 4. ¿Tú solo?
Yo veo el número 4.
¿Viste? ¿Salió más fácil? Chaca.
So the point of this video, you can see it's also different from the previous ones. Either using the robot alone or introducing a player companion, or heavily relied on the human mentor to use the robot. So these are the three different modes you are using the robots for your social needs. And you can see the human plays an important role in this interaction. So how can you design the human's role in this process is also important to consider. And the third project is it's a field study. So the previous one they studied in the laboratory. So in this one, they studied how humans, children, respond to the robots in the shopping mall, where the robots is supposed to make as a guide robot to provide information for the shoppers, and the children came and they stopped the robot from moving or bullying the robot. They saw this problem and developed a strategy how can protect the robots from being bullied by the children. Maybe their next strategy may be how to educate the children to not bullying the robots to begin with.
And then preventing bullying happen.
Yeah.
With this prediction.
Yeah, what is the best way to educate the children to not bullying other people? So that will be another problem to solve. So for our discussion, I have 3 quick questions, the bigger questions. So what areas do children need help? So we identified some of the language or some of the personality and autism, emotional support, play companion. These are the ones that being identified. So what are there any like universal needs or some of the personalized needs? Like for motivation theory, saying self-determining theory, people need to know who they are. They need to know what they can do. They want to be socially connected to others. So how these like universal needs can be broken down into each of these areas, and then we can design this strategy to fit these basic psychological needs. So there's different approaches to identify what is the problem, what is the need. And secondly, how do we design the robots and the activities? So some of the people saying that we just design the robot, it's all the robot's job, and then leave the children and robot alone. But based on the people's psychological needs, it's not going to work. Humans need to be in part of the loop to be able to enhance the interaction and enhance the outcome. So for this purpose, then we not only need to make the robot work technically, but also need to think about the interaction, the activity design, how include the human in this loop. And for that, we'll need technical people and speak all kinds of sensors, and also need to know what exactly the strategies work the best for the specific needs. For example, for language, how do you break it down in each of the languages? How can you make children feel, how can you provide the feedback to make them feel competent, like for example, and how can you give them options that you feel it's their choice, it's not being forced to do so. So these are the things that we may consider. And the third one is, how do we measure the results effectively? From the needs, we see the problems, their original status of their emotion, cognition, behavior problems. Then we provided this solution, potential solution, And then after the solution, what's the difference? Did they change any of the social outcomes or educational outcomes, attention, trust, any kind of behavioral change? So what did they change? So these are the things that from different area we can all work and tackle the problem from different perspective. And in the end, I want to say that these three big questions can be applied to any human-robot interaction, not just human, not just child-robot. As we can see from here, we are focusing from K to probably grade 8, and there's a different type of teaching and family assistance, and also hospital and also public robots, different areas. So there's a lot more we can explore in different areas based on their age, and also have the y-axis is from personal, family, general classroom, special classroom, training professional to the public. So there's a variety of dimensions that we can explore. What's the needs of the children? How can we design the robots? How do we measure the change, the outcomes? Okay, so that will conclude my talk. Thanks.